seeing this video, there's a really good chance that you're upset at me right now because I've called you out for reinforcing YT supremacy. What do I even mean by that, you might be thinking? Maybe I said something along the lines of, you don't know history, you don't know the present, and you don't understand the way that you reinforce systems of oppression through language usage. Maybe I said you reinforce respectability politics in ways that you don't understand that reinforce YT supremacy. Even if I said none of those things because it wasn't worth my time, here is a bit of my article called Car's Extension of Whiteness, Not Everyone's Skin is Extended Equal, that I published in 2023. You're in luck because I have an entire section dedicated to whiteness, which goes like this. In the colonially founded, capitalist-funded U.S. context, whiteness was and is viewed as the normative existence and therefore one limitation in how we learn to identify difference. One specific way whiteness has been addressed was by Omi and Winant in their work, Racial Formation in the United States, where they detailed that although race is often presumed to be a taken-for-granted attribute or social fact, that this idea is ahistorical because, over the ages, these categories' meanings have varied a great deal. To explain, as long as YT people are not racially seen and named, they function as a human norm, meaning historically and intentionally targeted racial groups are seen as visibly raced, while YT people are just the default citizen. Ideas of realism are typically observed, vocalized, and resultingly validated dependent upon what credentials are used to determine what qualifies someone as the universal subject. In other words, those who have historically passed as most human. Digital humanities scholar Rizom in 2019 straightforwardly addressed this by explaining that the only group that has historically been cast as being the most human was the Enlightenment subject, non-disabled, cis male, bourgeoisie, and YT. Due to processes that repeated this canon, YT neutrality became common sense, and many YT folks have falsely come to believe that they truly can think, feel, act like, and speak for and from all human experience. YT folks reinforce privilege and power via language as media, violently mediating relations. Privilege and power are a part of the everyday lexicon. However, lesser talked about still is the fact that these positions were strategically orchestrated and reified by elder generations of YT US citizens for themselves in order to ensure they are sociopolitically and legally seen as the legitimate authorities. Again, Kendi reported humans reinforce this via three institutions: religion, science, and politics. As Sharma 2020 argued, these institutions are machine-like and therefore are not neutral. In turn, this led YT folks to speak for and not with humankind as a claim to power, which raced people are not similarly afforded. Ironically, and contrary to neoliberal popular belief, the status quo created by YT folks has left YT folks largely woefully ignorant and or apathetic towards anyone else's experiences. Said directly, whiteness is a process of language as media that also hurts YT folks to repeat. From my Dr. Bird's Eye view, tangentially, I saw Stoller also address the concept of whiteness through a reference to Foucault's grids of intelligibility. To explain, first Stoller cited West's idea of YT supremacy, in which he asserted that the ideology of YT supremacy emerged out of the powers of a modern discourse to produce and prohibit, develop, and delimit narrow Enlightenment forms of rationality, scientificity, and objectivity, which drew boundaries for the intelligibility, availability, and legitimacy of certain ideas. In other words, this helps to explain key ways the use of whiteness as a media inclines racist practices. Similarly, Kendi more overtly addressed whiteness as linguistic power, mediated by humans by exemplifying the norm that there is something wrong with Black people and right with YT people, as the common policy discourses solidifying dominant YT social narrative reinforced on a basis of anti-Blackness. This is all to say, if you don't understand the way that you're playing into YT supremacy through debate culture, use of Filbro jargon created by Enlightenment subjects, and you don't understand that that reinforces not a conducive space for learning, but a place of competition and hierarchy, it's still YT supremacy.